Welcome back to Dime Comic Bros podcast. Sometimes we talk about comic books for real. This week is one of those weeks where we talk about actual comic books. Sometimes we do. We've been better about it lately.
We have been.
We've been better since Collin left.
Jeez.
It's true!
Yeah. Collin doesn't read. And we have him
He does. He
on
just
a book club podcast. It's a terrible idea.
It's weird. He does. He just refuses to read what we ask him to, and then he just reads 8 books of another variety and then talks about them. And it's like, could you have spent a nanometer of that amount of time on the thing we asked you to do?
No.
No.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Introduce us.
I am Papa.
I am not pedophile.
I am the one who says the joke but louder.
True story.
It's very
That
true.
happens to me all the time.
Half the time I don't even realize I'm doing it. Like, I'll just repeat something one of you has said in the past, like, month, and you're like, hey! I'm like, oh, right, you did say that. I'm just dumb.
No, like, I'm saying it happens to me at work. Like,
I'm sure.
I'll say it and, like, nobody's listening, and someone will hear me and say it really loud and get all the laughs.
Damn. No bitches.
No.
Maidenless.
Yep.
So,
Elden Ring sucks.
but the memes have been good.
Meh.
So, I'm Spencer.
Hello.
How?
You
Jacob.
see, because he's 1/64th Native American.
It's true. It's true. Actually, it's 1/28. Actually.
How are you getting 28th?
I don't know. I'm pulling numbers out my ass.
It is-
Actually, it's 1/8, but, you know, it's neither here nor there.
I guess 28 is divisible by 4.
Suck my dick. You're Jacob,
I am.
apparently.
That was a question mark and an exclamation point at the same time.
Yeah. You read books.
Only if they have pictures in them.
Well, this book does have pictures in it.
It did.
So, this week, month, whatever, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus Volume 1, the first half-ish.
Because it's too big of a book.
It is a bit big. It's like 1,500 pages. It's not the biggest omnibus, but it's big.
Yes.
So the first half-ish consists of the Avengers Assemble miniseries by Bendis and Bagley.
6 issues.
It's 8.
Is it?
Yep.
Dang.
They're like mega small issues, though.
Yeah.
And then a butt ton of Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. And then also an X-Men crossover that we're not going to talk about yet. So the premise of this is, what if the Guardians but had an Iron Man?
Yep.
Basically.
It's kind of cool.
It's an interesting enough premise. So the first 8 issues are an Avengers book, and then the Guardians cross over into it in the last couple of issues. It's the most... This is a story. Like, it's fine, but it's very like, but what if Thanos did a Thanos thing? And it's like your baby's first Avengers story.
It felt like a plot from Earth's Mightiest Heroes or something.
Yes.
Kinda.
Derogatory.
Yeah.
Except Earth's Mightiest Heroes is pretty good.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of what got me into comics, honestly.
It's like, so this was in 2015, so this is like very much so post-Avengers energy. Like,
Excuse the gurgles. That's the coffee pot. We need energy.
it's my tummy. And the coffee pot. But yeah, the Avengers Assembled series is so, like, fine. Like, I like Bagley's art quite a lot. He has some really cool designs, but it's the most, like, A to B to C to D. Like,
Yep.
it reads fine, but is very forgettable.
Yep.
Very much so an introduction to a new era, which I believe Bendis was also writing the Avengers book at the time. He was either transitioning in or transitioning out. I think it might be out.
Weird.
So, that makes sense. But it works fine enough to set up the...
The Guardians of the Galaxy come in and they help save the day. And Iron Man's like, you know what? I kind of want to go to space. He was Elon Musk 10 years before Elon Musk. And he goes to space and he's like, man, space is so cool.
True. He video calls his wife and is like, yo, I'm in space.
Yep.
This is cool.
Right?
And then they just kind of get up to normal Guardians shenanigans.
Pretty much.
So I think the thing with that, like, the premise is cool. I do feel like it was definitely bred out of, like, a marketing gimmick of, like, oh, yeah. Oh, that coffee. Like, it does sound like, you know what would make the Guardians sell more? If we added Iron Man into the book.
Yep.
But I do think he's written pretty well in the story, and I do like his inclusion.
Well.
They do. The shame is he leaves the book like halfway through. Around the point where we are, so like the first 40% of this omnibus, he just goes back to Earth. And it's like, well, there goes that marketing gimmick. It's just lame, because he was actually pretty cool. He was written pretty well. His armor was cool. He interacted well with the team. But then they just drop him for, I'm assuming he probably had a series that they wanted to make. They're like, fuck, we need him back on Earth. And then they just yoinked him, which is a shame, because it would have been cool to have him here for the entirety of the run. Because I think the other stories in the first half of the omnibus that he's not in would have been cool for him to be in. Like, I think it would have been an interesting mix. So it's kind of a shame that they pulled him out. Whether it was they only intended for him to be there for so long, or if, Marvel editorial was like, we need a new Iron Man ongoing, not in space. So send him back to Earth. Which is kind of lame. But, so that was cool.
The Gamora outfit that you complained about with the last omnibus is much better this time around. It's very much not sexist feeling.
It's definitely still hot, though.
And then they bring in Angela, who wears nothing.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman, my man.
Yep.
So the first like proper Guardians arc is like partially a recap of previous stuff and also some retconning. This is where Peter's very complicated origin comes into play. I really like the first, 5 issues? It's 0.1 and then 1 through 3. So the first trade's worth. It was a pretty good just who are these characters? There's a bunch of like single solo stories done by different artists that I really liked in the beginning. That's like, this is where they've been since the last time they teamed up. They're all mad at each other because of course they are. There's an issue. The 0.1 issue is just a Peter Quill origin story that I thought was really well done. It's the 80th retcon of his childhood, but I like that issue quite a lot. The thing I think that drags down most of my enjoyment of the second volume's worth, so that would be sadly all the stuff where Angela's there.
Yep.
Angela is great. But it looked like Neil Gaiman consulted on this at the time as well, because Angela has a really weird publication history. She's actually from the Spawn universe. Don't ask fucking questions.
I covered that when I talked about Spawn.
Don't ask questions.
2 years ago.
It's weird, but so this was just they had some random justifying mechanism. They're like, I don't know, the universe shit itself, and now she's here. Don't ask questions. She's handled really well, and I like how she's written and how she contrasts with Gamora. They're besties now, which I think is cool. They did the dude thing where they fight and now they're friends. But the shame with that is there is 2 or 3 issues at the end of that trade that are in the middle of the Infinity event, which is a great event that's written by Jonathan Hickman. And with no context, they're incoherent. They have really good art by Francesco Francavilla, I think is how you say his name. I don't remember. Fantastic art. But because they're so out of context, they just mean nothing. Like, I haven't read the Infinity event in 4 years. It's a good event, I remember that. But the fact that it was written by another writer means that Bendis was kind of bending around somebody else. And that's not usually a good thing for your omnibus collections, at least. Because, what was it? The Kate's run and the Lanning and fuck.
Lanning and Abbott?
Yes, Abnett, I think.
Yeah.
Both of those writers were doing the events that were ongoing during those runs. So their issues of the ongoing in that omnibus were in context, and they felt like they made sense. Whereas there's 2 or 3 issues that are just these were pretty to look at, but they make no fucking sense because none of Infinity's included.
Right.
Which I wouldn't say that they should have included it. I feel like they probably should have just excluded those issues, because sometimes omnibuses do that. They're not a lot of collected editions will just remove Spider-Man 6, 7, and 8 from this run because they're really just part of a crossover event, and then they're included in the crossover event book. It's just a shame because a lot of the plot points that they were building in the background of the Guardians run about Thanos and the weird Thanos-y shit that he's getting up to are relevant for Infinity. It's just there wasn't a lot of I don't know if they didn't have a lot of communication or they didn't have a lot of time, but it just makes for an unpleasant reading experience because then there's...
Yeah, it makes it rough.
And it's weird because the parts of those issues where Angela's there and she's getting all pulled into this universe for reasons is cool and it looks great and it's justified fine enough. Like, she's a cool addition to the team. I think it would be cool if she stayed on this team because that would be cool, but she has to go off and be Asgardian or whatever. So that's just kind of lame.
I remember what I was looking up.
The vast majority of this art for the first 2 trades is done by Sarah Pacelli, and I fucking love her art so much. She has really good faces, and that's something I'm kind of finicky about when it comes to sci-fi books, I think, is a lot of faces just look bad. Like, the alien designs are cool, but the faces on the humans look fucking shit. Hers are fantastic. Like, almost every single one of these issues looks amazing.
Yeah, this whole... The artwork in this book looks great. I don't think I have a complaint.
Not much, no. There's a couple of things that are a little weird, but, like, not much. I think it's just a shame that, so far, this is shallow. There isn't much depth here.
They haven't done anything, really.
Yeah.
They just bombed around the galaxy.
Right, which is fine. It's just...
normal, but they don't have, like, a driving force, a mission,
right. Like,
a quest.
Because that's the thing, the Abnett and Landing Omnibus, because those two were writing all of the ongoing events, and they had written the stuff beforehand, like, that run is still definitely top of the list. Like, that was... They had a purpose, and they had the fun hijinks, and there were a lot of themes and stuff, and it looked great, but, like... This looks good, but it's just kind of... So far, anyways, it's pretty par for the course Brian Michael Bendis writing. Like, not in a mean way, it's just kind of like... He's pretty good at writing decent, quippy dialogue, but there isn't a lot of depth to it. I think the Avengers Assembled... I guess you could call it a prelude to this. Like, it's... They're just all kind of written the same. Like, yeah. They're not... It's not like they're out of character. They're just kind of all...
flat.
Saying the same jokes, you know? They're not, like, to the point of where they're like, haha, he's behind me. But, like, it's closer to that than I would like. They're all fine. It's enjoyable to read, but it's not leaving an impression.
Is this the one where Groot is... Rocket is like, murdered you.
Yes.
Murdered you.
Yes.
That was very boring.
It was funny for the first couple panels, but then it got really fucking annoying.
And it just keeps happening.
Yeah. I do really like how Bagley does draw Rocket in the first... In the Avengers Assembled series, though.
Yeah.
He's got the funny face. I like both versions of Rocket, where he's got the really weird face and then, like, the normal one that you'd expect. Now, I like both of them, but, like, they're nice to kind of alternate between designs.
A really good joke. Or a really funny joke, I guess. They had to fight with Angela, and then they locked her up in a cage, and then Iron Man is asking her, like, who the heckin' are you? And she's being all stoic and mean and not saying a word, and Iron Man keeps on talking at her, I guess. And Rocket's like, hey, ask her if she fancies diminutive fur-based genetic experiments. It was just, like, out of the blue, like, did not expect it. It was very funny.
I think that issue in general was one of the funnier ones. Like, I think that Angela and Tony Stark and then the regular semi-traditional team lineup is a really good pick.
Yes.
I do have to ask, where the fuck are the 2 lesbians? Where are they? Why are they not in this run? I need to know.
They might not have existed yet?
No. They existed. They existed before this was a team. They've been there from the beginning. They're just not included for reasons. I think it's synergy because this came out a year after the first movie. It smells like we need to...
It happens, too. Like, this is... I don't think they were in the Donny Cates run, either.
They were there in the background. They weren't active, but they were there.
I think they drop in and out of the team.
I mean, yes. It's just... It's weird. I think that's the thing, is, like, I wouldn't put that on, like, Brian Michael Bendis. I don't think he pitched this run. I think he was just given a book, which is fine. But in combination with...
I want to say they go and do X-Men things sometimes, too.
Maybe.
They might have been there.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just, in combination between, like, the Iron Man just being there and then, like, the team lineup being pretty similar to the first movie, it just feels kind of... corporate synergy energy, which isn't bad. It just means it's a lot less... There's a little bit less breath of life in it.
Yeah.
Angela's hot.
Some would say too hot.
I think they would be pussies, but yes. She's very fun. I like
the design. There's a variant cover that has her extremely cartooned up. It looks like basically a Funko Pop kind of.
Oh, that's Scotty Young.
And it's got the weird lanyard that is always twirling around her, like piled up in stacks under her, and that's really funny. I kind of like that.
She's such a weird character. I do think that they handle, like, it's such a shame because, like, the first, I think it's 2 or 3 issues where it's just, holy shit, this is some hot chick in space. What the fuck's going on?
Right.
I think those were all really good. It's just a shame because it's immediately followed up by, like, and now we're in the middle of an event and everyone's dying and stuff, and it's like, what the fuck happened here? I would have liked a full, I think if the Angela stuff was a full arc's worth, like a, not just 3 issue arc, like a full 5 or 6 issue arc, that would have been at least on par with the first chunk, the first trade's worth. I think that would have been really good. It's just kind of a shame. They make no sense.
Checking to see if the gay man was credited, and I don't see his name anywhere.
In the book? Really? He's on the Goodreads. Weird.
It could just be because it's his character and it's part of like the legal action that happened to get
Probably.
Angela away from
It might be.
the Spawn world.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's
Because that was a whole court case. That was crazy.
That's decades worth of history there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Even if, me lying when I spread misinformation on the internet that Neil Gaiman was consulted, it kind of feels like he was because she's written pretty well.
At the very least, he should have.
Yeah, like...
Yes.
I'm not super familiar with Angela very much. I think I've only read her stuff now that she's in the Marvel universe. But like,
she was cool in Spawn. She kicked his ass, and it was hot.
That's cool.
I don't like how sexualized she is, because it's a cool character.
Yeah. I think she's had some outfit changes recently. It's really weird. Maybe. Don't quote me. I'm thinking maybe. I don't know.
Weird.
She definitely looks like she came from the Spawn universe, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely like, and maybe they'll change it eventually.
Very, very 90s, and it's great.
It is. It is.
What did you read this week? Or watch?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
We're going to eyeball this shit. I have things I've done, but nothing prepared.
Like Aquaman 2, maybe?
I'm thinking about it. I might.
The sun is out. I'm not used to this.
Congratulations. You're actually looking at the daytime. I'm so proud of you.
I might melt if I step into the sunbeam.
That'd be hot.
Would it?
I like sunbeams. I read The Variants, which is a Jessica Jones story, but it has no Jessica Jones in the title. It's written by Gail Simone with art by Phil Noto. She has... There's variants, like the MCU word. There's a bunch of Jessica Joneses that just kind of fucking show up out of nowhere, and she's like, what are you guys doing in my house? I'm gonna kick your ass. Basically, turns out that one of them is evil!
What?
But it's not the one you expect.
Whoa.
She's from a universe that's just, like, totally fucked in the ass.
That was a reference to the TV show.
It wasn't, but sure. Yeah, one of them one of them is the twist villain. But yeah, so it's Jessica being all... Okay. So a lot of the Jessica Jones books post original Alias run have been too heavily reliant on Purple Man trauma stuff. Not that it's bad, but they kind of dwell on it a lot and not in a way that feels very either healthy or I say remotely realistic, like that's a real thing. But like it feels like they're so the character was made as like a, but what if we made this woman into like a real person instead of just like a generic superhero, which was great. And then it feels like a lot of the writers in the past, I don't know, like decade have kind of re-limited her to like, but she's the traumatized fucked up one. And it's like, you're just doing it, but backwards, like you're not doing the weird sexism. You're just kind of doing it, but like inverted. It's weird. You're like leaving her in like a weird spot. She's gone through a lot of stuff in said comics over the past like decade that have been really cool. She's gotten married. She's had a kid. She's had a cool life. She's on a couple of teams. I think she's on the Avengers. Sometimes she's like a reserve member or whatever. So she's great. This book does open up with like, but what if Purple Man basically put like a kill switch in her head and is like, on this random date you're gonna fucking kill your family or whatever, which is a cool idea. It was definitely like a little bit of a feeling in my gut of like, oh no, it's another story about Purple Man even though he's been dead for 20 years. But it turns out the Purple Man is entirely fake and it's all in her head. Kind of. Not necessarily that like he's actually still in her head, but she basically literally tricked herself into going crazy. It's very weird. I think it's handled pretty well though. Like she ends up contacting Charles Xavier, Mr. I have a helmet and I look like the Maker Man. And he goes in her brain and is like, there's nothing here. It's just you, my guy. Like, you're doing this to yourself. So it's really weird. So she's basically re-victimizing herself. It's very odd. And then she defeats him because it's her own brain. It's not actually him or whatever. It's super weird. It's hard to describe. Not a lot happens, like, plot-wise, which I think is actually pretty cool. It's written really well. Gail Simone is probably in my top, like, 10 writers that, like, most consistently hits it out of the park. To be that guy, actually having a woman write Jessica Jones is nice because...
Whoa!
I know. It's crazy.
That's weird.
Women do be like that. She writes her really well. She's given a lot of depth. The character always had it, but it's a vibes thing. It's kind of hard to put my finger on because I'm not super well educated on this, but like the book just feels like it's an actual woman, not just like, not even like, men writing women poorly, just like sometimes when the men be like that, they just don't get it. Like some of the like minor stuff, I guess, little detail stuff. And I think that was really cool. A lot of it is like most Jessica Jones books about like, I don't want to be a pretty girl, but maybe I do want to be a pretty girl. And like, I'm fucked up, but I don't want to be fucked up, but like, I'm going to stay fucked. Like it's a lot of...
sounds like your inner dialogue most days.
I am a pretty girl. It's very pontificating, but not in like a really pretentious way. It's not even like, while it's about a bunch of identity stuff. Like, it's not so dressed up where it feels like, wow, this is just Gail Simone doing like a philosophy speech at me. It feels like the character's actually thinking these things to herself, but just not in such bookish terms, which is really cool. The other variants are pretty neat. They're just a bunch of Jessica Joneses from other universes. One of them is Captain America because reasons. One of them is her, what's her name? Jewel, back when she was a superhero, like an actual superhero, and is like seemingly not Purple Man. She's like not traumatized. Like she's like a normal person. She's like, what are you guys talking about? And Jess is like, I'm gonna give you a hug because you're like me before I was fucked up. It's cute. There's a version of Jessica that's a gender swap. It's very funny. It's Luke Cage encounters him in like an elevator and is like, you can tell the face is pretty similar, and Luke is like, let me guess, your name's like Jason or something. He's like, yeah. And then they fight, and then he beats his ass. It's cool.
I thought you were going to say, and then Luke Cage says wood.
That'd be funny. I don't know. There's a lot of cool action. It's not much. It is mostly like a story-based book. But it looks really good. I'm not always the biggest fan of Phil Noto's art, but I think he does really well here. He's very good at doing like human expressions on faces, but without going like hyper detailed or hyper realistic or whatever. So I think that works really well. The emotions all hit pretty well, especially when paired with his art. It doesn't feel like I have to... sometimes with artists... JR, where you feel like you kind of have to like bridge the gap for them. And you're like, I know what you were going for, but it doesn't land right. Like, Noto's actually really good in this book at nailing what is being talked about and what is on screen, on the page. It's fun. It's short. I think it's 5 issues. Yeah, 5 issues. They're all pretty short. It kind of came and went with very little fanfare. I remember we talked about it when it was announced briefly, and I was like, that looks neat.
I don't even remember.
This was announced like 3 years ago. This is a pretty recent. I think it came out like 2 years ago.
I don't know anything about this.
Real random. It was, we talked about it. It was a long time ago. It's cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't really have any criticisms. Like, at all. It wasn't like the most mind-blowing experience I've ever had in my life. It's a pretty straightforward story that handles a character well with good art. It takes itself seriously enough. It's not super plot heavy. It deals in pretty realistic emotions for being a mainstream comic book about superheroes. I dig it. I bought it for $5.
Whoa.
At Stairway to Heaven off of the used rack.
That's a steal.
And yes, it's a cover price of like $16. So great price. I would pay full cover price. I actually feel like I'm going to reread this one. There's a few of the Jessica Jones books that I don't think I'm going to reread very much, even if I kind of enjoyed them. I think this is... it's like number 3, I think, on the Jessica Jones list. Obviously, Alias is the top, because duh. But, like, this is pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good. What the fuck you got going over there, my dude? My guy. My duder.
I read Bodies. You may remember talking about starting the TV show on Netflix and being like, holy shit, this is based off a comic?
I did do that.
I did the same thing. I was in the comic shop and I was getting a book, and Mr. Bragg guy from Stairway to Heaven was like, I think Amazon just made a series about this. And I was like, holy shit! This is the TV show that Spencer didn't realize was based on a book. I buy the book, I didn't realize it was based on the TV show. Ah! It was weird.
Tenet. We're going to do a pincer maneuver.
Oh. Written by C. or Cy Spencer. And...
My guy, why the fuck are you reading Civil War 2? Why are you doing that to yourself?
And arted by 4 different people. Because there's 4 different timelines.
Whoa.
So Spencer recapped the plot when he watched the TV show. There's a body that shows up in the 4 different timelines. Well, I say timelines. Years, I guess. 1890, 1940, 2014, and the future 2050.
Holy shit. That's in the future. That hasn't happened yet.
This book is very strange. I still don't fully understand what happens.
That's amazing. I am so happy for you.
I have a general idea, but it's very weird. And I usually like the weird, but it's not a good weird this time. It's weird derogatory.
Damn.
Not weird complimentary.
Are you sure you're not the problem?
You should season your coffee and drink it.
Season my coffee.
Freaking sugar crack addict. You might want milk in this one too.
Why?
The chicory is weird and strong.
I love strong. She didn't sit on my face. I love it when books stump you. Makes me feel smart. I'm sure I'm gonna read this and also get confused.
Alright, so the 1890 artwork is really, really good. That's my favorite. And that was done by somebody.
That's the one with the gay homo, right?
Dean Ormston.
That's a weird name. That's the time period with the gay homo, right?
There's a gay homo in every one.
That's also true. Alfred Hillinghead, my homeboy. The guy. The boy.
1940 was really good. That's
the one with the Jew! Please edit that out.
That was arted by Phil Winslade. The 2014 era is passable. It's fine.
Oof.
The faces are kind of rough though. And then the future one, I was not a huge fan of. It's very rough.
The future, baby.
And I can't tell if it's intentional because it's post-apocalyptic or whatever, but it's meh. It's the most meh out of all of them.
That sucks. You really are a professional at having spoiled milk in your fridge.
I told you.
This unopened one expires tomorrow.
Yep.
That's impressive. You are a silly boy.
So there's I think there's 8 issues.
That makes sense. That smells right.
Yeah, there's 8 issues, and it's only in like issue 7 that things start to make some sense. And then 8 is heavy-handed in like the themes that this book is going for and tries to bring it all together, but I'm still kind of confused.
What are the themes of the book, Jacob? What was the plot, Mason?
Phobia is bad.
That's so true. Damn. It's almost like it's in the name.
No?
Incredible.
I don't...
Phobia.
It's called Bodies.
No, I mean, no, like, phobia. Like,
Okay.
it's in the name of the thing.
You're special.
No! Phobic. It's the fear. It's a bad thing.
Okay.
That's the point.
Yeah. Anyway.
My guy, do you even Latin? Is that Latin? Might be Greek. I don't know. English. Do you even English, my guy?
Tuesday.
It's Sunday. What are you talking about?
I was Englishing bad. It was a joke.
Oh, Tuesday, ain't it? Or bit of a fucking blighter.
That's a great point. Thank you.
This is a very British book.
About 40% of the English in this book is like tea drinking English, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't know if it's like using terminology from the era that it's portraying in like the old stuff, which is cool, but I don't understand it. And then there's words in the future that don't make sense. And I'm like, is this like an actual tea drinking word? Or is it like made up futuristic word? I don't know! I did not understand a large portion of the dialogue in this book. And that leads to a lot of, probably some of the confusion I have about what's actually going on.
Being racist is bad, but being racist against tea drinkers is fine.
I've had this conversation at work several times. There are acceptable forms of racism. 1, Canada. 2, gingers.
3, women!
3, England.
It's true.
There's other forms, I'm sure, but I haven't made that list far enough yet. I can only count to 3.
Tell me something positive about this book. Damn, that's rough. Why'd you give it a 2 out of 5 instead of a 0 or a 1 then?
Because I really liked the artwork in the older times, the 1890 and the 1940. The 1890 is really, really cool. It's black and white, and it's really detailed, and there's like red accents, and it just looks really cool.
I'd hit that.
Yeah.
Moustache.
Yes, I had mustaches in my mouth. Gross. The same thing with the 1940. It's all very stop it. It's very like gumshoe detective and noir, and I like that shit.
I do like that shit. That's a good shit. Hot.
Yeah. Meh. Was not a fan. Not really. But I think that you'll like it a lot.
I probably will. This is a repeating cycle we have.
Seriously. I think you'll also just enjoy it a lot more for the phobia bad theme. It was pretty heavy-handed with the phobia bad message.
Damn. Ingerland. Damn. That was a big tummy rumble.
That was nothing. Cover price is $17. That's what I paid at Stairway to Heaven, which is kind of impressive. It's a normal 8-issue trade paperback.
This book is normal. What the fuck?
And it's a cheaper price for a normal paperback. It's strange.
I think it's because it's a Vertigo book.
It's literally DC Black Label?
That's Vertigo.
What?
DC owns Vertigo. It was originally a Vertigo book.
Weird. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars.
Damn, I love books.
Meh.
Gimme.
I really do think it'll be one of your top books this year.
I don't know if I'd go that far. You should watch the show though. I think you'd. I think you'll like it.
I honestly think it'll help me understand the story better.
The English accents are definitely a lot more workable.
Yes.
I think it's just it's hard to read them when they're written. Like they're written in a way for Americans to understand the lacking syllables or whatever, but like that actually makes it harder to read than like me imagining a British accent in my mind. If that makes sense.
It wasn't even that. It was just like bullshit words that don't mean anything. It's a fake word. There's a lot of fake words in this book.
Jacob, did you know that all words are fake actually?
What else did you read or watch? Aquaman 2.
Yeah, it's Aquaman 2.
Yes!
All right. All right, yet. Okay, so I watched Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom yesterday.
Was there an Aqualad?
There was no Aqualad, although there was an Aqua baby. I'm sorry to disappoint, the baby does not die in this movie. I was wrong!
Aha! We got him on record saying it.
They were cowards. So the plot of this is, it's sometime after the first movie. Aquaman and Mera have a baby. They're like, damn, being parents is hard. And Aquaman is like, damn, being parent and king is hard. Especially when Atlanteans are racist as fuck.
I was gonna say, especially when your queen is a psycho bitch.
She's a little kooky. She's quirky.
If you call shitting on a mattress quirky.
Shush. Shush. Don't start the discourse. I can't do this today. Redheads be like that, my guy.
My wife shit on the bed? She's quirky.
Shut up. And then, so, yeah. Orm has been imprisoned since the last movie. You know, he went to Aquaman jail. But
Orm.
he's Orm, also known as Underwater Hitler, went to jail. He's in the deserter land, so he's in the desert in like a vault, which is pretty cool. They do that Steve Rogers, we made him real skinny thing, which actually looks pretty good, especially because Patrick Wilson's a fucking unit. I'm kind of impressed they sized him down so well. So yeah, he's chilling, I guess. He's got a big scraggly beard. He looks a lot more like Jason Momoa, which is pretty funny. And Black Manta, who they almost, I think, exclusively refer to by his legal name, is very funny. It's Daniel, whatever the fuck is David, whatever. They literally like use his name. It's very weird. Like, I don't think they call him. I think they call him Manta like once. It's like, it's very odd. He finds a trident and is like, oh, it gives me evil powers, and I hate Aquaman. He's a professional hater. My favorite type of villain, where they're like, I just really fucking hate you. Just, you know, Reverse Flash. Just, I'm gonna go back in time and fuck your mom just because I want to. Like, fuck you. Which is great. Manta gets the black trident, as the marketing would tell you many times. It's a magic, quote unquote, trident from way back in the day. In a very clunky exposition dump, Orm lets everybody know that way back, King Atlan, the guy before Atlantis sunk, had a brother. His brother was a big sussy boy and was all jealous and like, I want power. And then he did magic, which is science, but he did magic, quote unquote, and basically turned his entire kingdom into like fish demons, including himself. He looks like Sauron, basically. And then they fought, and then all records of him were wiped away for retcon reasons, obviously. And then they rediscover all of this information over time because reasons. So Manta is literally speeding up global warming. That's his plot. It's kind of cool, actually. Not because it's good, but because it's cool. He's like, I'm going to find this old Atlantean fuel that was used by that other kingdom of the evil guy, because that's like the thing. It's oil. Obviously, it's oil. It's just like, damn, they were great producers of things. They were like dwarfs. They make all the shit, but also they fuck the planet. And then all knowledge of this magic fuel that's bad was buried or whatever, but they can't destroy it because that would make it worse. So they like store it, and Manta's plot is to steal it, burn it, make the planet melt, and then free the bad guy because power. On the one hand, it's fucking absurd. On the other hand, this movie has a pretty interesting, like, very forward-facing, kind of coherent message about environmentalism. It's very odd. Especially because the end of the movie has Aquaman approaching the UN and being like, we're going to stop global warming because you guys are retarded. It's pretty whack. I like that. That was pretty neat. From there, though, a lot of this is pretty rough. it's hard to describe. So a lot of the performances are very good. Jason Momoa, always a pleasure. Patrick Wilson is pulling so much weight in this movie because he's given some pretty bad shit to work with. He's killing it. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is literally just professional hater. I love him. He's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill your baby, Aquaman! It's very funny. He's insane. I love it. That's really cool. What's his name? Fuck. Boba Fett. What's his name? Tamura Morrison. There we go. Tamura Morrison is pretty good, again, with fairly minimal material, as Aqua Daddy. What is her name? Nicole Kidman is there. She has lines in this movie, but I don't know if... I think they're trying to de-age her so she, like, looks ageless or whatever. Like, she doesn't already look ageless as a person anyways. So I think that was kind of distracting a lot of the time. I couldn't really tell if they were just doing... Like, they did poor, like, normal CGI makeup, or if they were trying to do something. She just kind of seemed off. Mara has a surprising amount to do in this movie. Not anywhere near what the first one did, but there were some reports that, like, her role had been drastically cut down for external reasons. I don't think it was. She wasn't given enough, in my opinion, but, like, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. She isn't just, like, a hysterical mother the whole time, which is what I was expecting. She does plenty of plot-related things. She does, in fact, get her ass handed to her pretty early on, and then that takes her out of commission, which was kind of weird. But she was there, and she's a more active participant. She's an actual counterbalance to Arthur's kingship in a pretty good way that I think is good. She's fine in the role. Kind of bland, but, like, she's there. She's not horrible. I don't know. The baby is a baby, so no real notes there. Okay, so I believe his name is Randall Park. He's a comedian. I think he was on It's Always Sunny. I don't know. He's for a superhero brain problem comparison. He was Agent Wu, because that's not racist, in WandaVision. He was, like, the guy who I liked in that. He's in this movie. He's really not funny, and he's, like, the third protagonist. He was at the end of Aquaman. He's, like, discovered Manta and is like, together we will rule the galaxy or whatever. He's here, and he's playing a role that I think would have been interesting. It's, like, a scientist who's like, I want to discover Atlantis. That'd be really cool. There's a lot of cool shit. And then Manta's like, yeah, we're going to blow the planet up for fun. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to kill you if you leave. So, like, this conflicted scientist, I think is interesting. I think it's cool. But he's not funny. I usually like him. I've seen his stand-up. He's pretty funny. It just, I don't know if the material wasn't funny or the delivery was weird or the editing was weird, but he's very... This movie has really bad tonal whiplash, like Black Adam levels of tonal whiplash, where you're like, that could have been very cool and interesting, and then that was a really bad joke. Not all of the comedy in this movie is bad. There are certainly jokes I did laugh at. It's just a lot of the dramatic stuff does get undercut in a different... It's hard to quantify, but in a different way than, like, what people, when they're like, MCU, haha, quippy. Like, not that type of undercutting. It just... The movie will, like, the score will intensify. It's clearly building to, like, a pretty dramatic line read. And then they'll just, like, cut the music and then say something funny. And it's like, that didn't land. It's weird. Because there's a lot of material in this. It's like, the movie's about fucking global warming. Like, that's pretty serious. And then sometimes they'll be like, but the baby peed in Aquaman's mouth. It's like, well, the hell. Most of the action's pretty good, so it's got that going for it. There's a few action sequences that go hard as fuck. Not all of it. There's some of it that's kind of boring, but there's the end fight. While it has some weird shit in it that I don't love, there's a shot in slow motion of Aquaman and Manta punching each other, and it does the superhero slow-mo shit. It's so good. There's some sequences in this that do look fantastic. The visuals are mostly a mixed bag also. I think the first movie looks better. I like the aesthetic of these movies. I really like how they've chosen to show the underwater world. I think most of it looks really cool. The different species are cool. The costumes are fucking amazing. But just, I don't know if it's the color grading or some of the shot placements were weird or some of, like, the 3D renders were weird, but sometimes it just looks off. And not like Quantumania, Love and Thunder type, like, damn, that looks like shit. Just like, sometimes it'll clearly be like a 3D rendered like Aquaman punching at the screen, and then like you can tell that Jason Momoa's face was kind of stapled onto it. Like, not bad. It's just, I think the style doesn't give you a lot of flexibility with poor renders. Like, the aesthetic doesn't lend to mistakes, I guess, if that makes sense. It's very well lit, it's very bright and vibrant, which is good. I like that aesthetic, but it just, when something doesn't look good, it kind of draws attention to it. Aquaman's costume is fantastic. He wears, for almost the entire movie, he wears the bright-ass orange and green fit with the fins. He looks great. But I think the costume looks a little bulky, which is weird, because it didn't look like that in the last movie. It looks like there's just, like, more rigidity. So it seems kind of weird. When he's underwater, it's not a problem. But when he's just kind of standing around on land and they don't touch it up, I think, much, it seems kind of weird. That's most of my problems. It's more like nothing was abysmal. It's just so much of it is very up and down and up and down and up and down. It's like, that would have been cool. That was kind of rough. That would have been cool. That was kind of rough. Orm has a moderate redemption arc in this movie, which I find interesting. It was mostly played for laughs, which I think is weird. But like, there's a level of basically exposure therapy where Arthur is like, dude, you are literally so racist you wouldn't go eat a cheeseburger. You should go eat a cheeseburger. And then the movie ends with Orm eating a cheeseburger. Like, it's silly, but it makes sense. Like, a lot of that sort of, Orm's particular, Hitler-like racism, like, most of that in real life is kind of broken by, like, exposure. Like, it's not someone needs to yell at you enough. It's not you need to read the right book. A lot of it's just, like, go outside and go eat some fucking ethnic food, you weirdo. Like, they're just people and they have cool food, so eat it. Like, and I think that was a cool thread to kind of weave. That seemed interesting. It just didn't really amount to much. They let him go at the end of the movie. They're like, we broke you out of prison, and we needed you, and now we don't need you, and we think your penance is paid, but you should, like, lay low because the Atlanteans are still mad. And it's like, that's kind of neat. I don't know. Some of it just didn't land quite right. I'm glad to say the octopus that played the drums in the first movie is more relevant here. He goes on a stealth mission. And it's very funny because he makes weird octopus warbly noises. Like, it is very dumb, like, haha, funny noise, but it was funny. It's... The post-credit scene is just a joke, which is normal, I guess. There were rumors, and by rumors I mean pretty substantiated claims, that Ben Affleck was coming back for a cameo of this, but with all of the timeline shifting nonsense, he is no longer in this movie, which is fine. I knew that ahead of time, but there is no other world building. It's a weird note to end this universe on, is I guess my bigger point. If this was in a series of a billion other movies, it would be like, okay, that one wasn't great, but like, whatever. It's, nothing. It's like a Thor 2. It's like, it's not horrible, it's just kind of nothing. But as the final note, like the final nail in the coffin, it's a real weird experience of like very anticlimactic. Like, the final line of the movie is spoilers, I guess. Like, he's giving a speech to the UN because they're like, they're doing the Wakanda thing. They're like, we're going to show ourselves, we're going to give technology to people because holy shit, you guys are fucked, which is good. And then he's giving this speech about, I am not racist because I am half of a billion things and I am cool and I am Aquaman, fuckers. And then he literally, like, leans into the microphone and is like, I am Aquaman. And then does a mic drop and jumps into the ocean. It's like, that could have been very funny, but it's framed really weird. Like... very obvious green screen background, like, as a front shot directly on him. It's like, that looks weird. And that's like the final note to the DCEU. Like, what the fuck? Also, this was supposed to release 2 years ago. It's just weird. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. It's... I wanted to like it more. I didn't like dislike my experience that much. It's just, I don't want to rewatch it. I think it's below Blue Beetle and above Shazam 2. Aquaman 2 definitely happened, and it was a movie.
Is it my turn now?
It is your turn now.
I read Civil War 2.
Why did you do that to yourself?
Because...
You idiot!
Can I talk now?
No.
Because I've read so many other books that are like, damn, after Civil War 2, when this big thing happens... we go and do other things. And the books I've been reading are the other things, but it's like, what actually happened in Civil War II? I don't understand.
A bunch of shit, and also
how
nothing.
much context am I missing here? And also, I wanted to find out how bad it is because you are always shit-talking it. I kind of like it.
Excuse me?
Kinda. It's a cool concept. Alright, so there's an Inhuman that can see the future. And he's like, all these people is gonna commit crimes. And Captain Marvel's like, no, we can't have crime! And goes and kills him. Well, that doesn't kill him, but and locks him up in space jail before they can commit the crime. And Iron Man is like, you can't do that. You have to... You can't just lock people up because they might commit a crime in the future.
Iron Man's the only one who learned this lesson about last time.
And then Captain Marvel's like, well, we can't just let them commit a crime or, like, kill people because we could have stopped it.
God, she's written so out of character. It's so bad.
Alright, so that's fair. It doesn't seem like a Captain Marvel thing to do.
It just goes
Honestly,
like Space Hitler. Like, what the fuck?
Like, it might have been better to have, like, the Nova Corps do that instead.
That would have been interesting.
Space cops.
And it would... I could see that. Not with Dick Ryder. He would have said no. But I think the Corps doing it would have been...
that would have been cool.
Iron Man being on the other side of it is actually cool. Because it makes sense because he learned from last time.
And they even say that in the book. He's like, no, I learned this from last time. I'm on Captain America's side this time because he kicked my ass.
True.
So yeah, the Fight the Future thing is really cool, and I like this, and it makes for a fun conversation, and it's fun. But the rest of it is... It's not as explosive, I guess, as the first Civil War. Like, the first Civil War had really big matchups, and it was cool for that. Like, the same thing that Avengers vs. X-Men did. Like, what if this guy fought this guy, who would win? It was fun to have those things, despite the reason being kind of dumb. It was kind of fan servicey, but it was still fun. This doesn't really have that so much. It's kind of boring. The fights feel like filler. It was annoying when they go to see the Hulk, because he's been Bruce Bannering for like 2 years. He's like, guys, I've been good. I haven't hulked out for like 2 years and counting.
Shoot him in the head!
And I'm figuring out how to stop it. And I'm almost there, guys. I'm doing great. And they shoot him in the head.
I do love Hawkeye doing it though. I like how they justify that in Immortal Hulk, where they're like, yeah, my one of my besties had to shoot me in the head.
And it was given to him by Banner. He's like, listen, if I'm about to break the Earth or whatever, as the Hulk, you need to do this. But the conversation that led up to that felt like the argument. Every guy's had this argument of like, why are you yelling? Why are you upset? And I'm not upset. It sounds like you are. Yeah, because you're being an annoying bitch and yelling at me. Now I'm getting mad. It felt like that.
Shoot him in the head.
Argument. Where it's like, I wasn't annoyed when I came into this conversation, but now that you're pestering me about being annoyed, I'm annoyed.
Yeah. It's also got a billion tie-in books.
Oh, yeah. I haven't even bothered.
You think Civil War was bad about that?
I haven't even bothered with all that shit. Because, honestly, I've read some of it.
Yeah. What did you... Or were there other things that you liked? Did you like any of the designs? Did you like any of the arts? The artsy-fartsies?
Hang on. I want to say there was another plot point that I really liked.
Poopy.
It's kind of weird because Iron Man is like, yeah, so I scanned this Inhuman's brain, and now I'm using an AI to do his power because I have his brain in a jar and I can do the thing without the guy. That was kind of, I don't know. I didn't really track with that. That was weird. But it was also like how Iron Man figured out if the power is like for sure gonna happen, or if it's like a possible outcome of the future.
Yeah, because there was the whole thing with like Miles is gonna kill Captain America, and
right.
it's like, but actually no, Lamau.
And
that's like that's kind of like the linchpin of the arc of being like, nah, it wasn't necessarily gonna happen, you dumbass.
Right.
So weird. You silly goose. Oh boy.
I'm probably gonna cut this.
Oh boy.
Nope.
It felt very intentional having Miles be the bad guy. There were multiple times where, like, the things Miles says is like, this isn't an allegory for things. Like, he legit says, I can't breathe.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm like, I don't know what you're doing here, but it definitely feels intentional.
Bendis sometimes is real weird.
Yikes. Like, he runs away and goes straight to, like, the Lincoln Memorial. And the cops are about to shoot him dead.
You're gonna bag me a Spider-Man.
Until Captain America walks up. I think it was Captain America walks up and is like, listen, kid. On his shoulder.
So weird.
It was really weird, and I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah. Admittedly, Carol do be looking hot, though.
Meh.
Me.
She's never really done it for me. Yeah, no! It's true.
I bonk you, but inverse. I make you horny.
You slap my pee-pee?
Yes.
Yeah. With you shit-talking it so much, I was happily surprised. It's not the greatest book. I'm probably gonna give it... I haven't read the last issue. But it's honestly like a 3-ish out of 5.
Oof. The original Civil War for me is a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, it's probably on par with the OG Civil War, honestly.
Wowee!
Like,
hot takes in this joint. You should go watch the Comic Tropes video about the book and then get a better opinion. How about that?
I don't know.
That was one of his funnier videos.
The Fight the Future premise was cool, and I liked that a lot. That brought the rating up quite a bit. Honestly, a better argument than the OG Civil War.
Yeah.
I read it through my Marvel subscription that's paying itself off.
Damn.
Very cool. And I read it at work.
Sticking it to the man.
Getting paid to do my other job.
That's true.
It's the most money I've made doing this gig right here.
That's true. Do you have a third or no?
No.
Okay.
I was scrambling to get the Civil War 2 out.
It's fine. That's the end of the show, and get out of my house! Come back next week where we'll talk about Echo and how good it is and how much I'm so happy and I'm living the dream and oh my gosh, Daredevil and oh my gosh. Next week is news, and also we're going to talk about Echo. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get Collin. What if we kidnap him? We know he's watched it. We know he's already done. So we should just storm the Bastille and then strap him down to your couch. In a non-sexual manner. I'm talking to myself. Jacob's not here. Credits. Kumquats. Thanks to Patron people. Thank you for giving us money. Caitlin, Jeff Lawrence. Thank you. Money. Give me money. I love shekels. Num 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 num. Tasty gold coins. Go to patreon.com/dimecomicbros network if you would like to support this show. It's greatly appreciated. It's the only thing giving Collin any ramen noodles to eat while he's not here and not working and exclusively working on his comic. Thank you to Jetpack. They're great. Shop at your local comic book shop. It's good for you. It's good for them. It's good for the economy. Buy more physical books. Unlike Jacob, the pleb, who's buying books digitally with his subscription service, Sussy.
I'm not buying them.
You're renting them. You don't even own it. It's not even real. Bye-bye.